Welcome to Living, Breathing, and Having a Good Time. I'm your host, Sierra. And today we are going to be embracing the art of mindfulness. We have a yoga teacher who has a passion for naturopathy and alternative healing, and also experienced an aerial, which is totally kosher with me because I was a former dancer. Thank you, Jen Hill. Nice to see you. How are you? This is a fun show. You need to tell us. You have a lot of different things that you've done over the years. I've known you for some time.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had several different businesses throughout the years. The naturopathy was one of them. I taught art also. I sold health and wellness things. And then now I'm getting into yoga. I've been into it, but now it's going to be this.
This is it. I've known you for so long, and you've had a lot of struggles trying to develop what you really wanted to do.
That's because I have a lot of interest. That's what it is. So how do you get all of those interests, like what I was telling you just now, into one? And I think in yoga, because there's so many different things that you can incorporate into it, you can incorporate naturopathy. It's all about health and wellness. And then there's my spiritual side. It's a little bit of a journey for me, but I also get to see other people go on that journey themselves. And that was also part of the art stuff that I was doing.
Because you've studied astrology.
Yeah. I put that to the side. That's more of my lifelong obsession. But I
Ken?
never want to turn it into my business. You take your favorite hobby and make that your business. Otherwise, you get.
And so you've studied astrology.
Yeah. That's just my deep hobby. I know there's a lot to know, and there's still a lot to learn when it comes to that sort of thing. Each person's blueprint is different than each other. So, where were the stars when you were born? And then, how are the stars affecting you as you're going through your life? There's a lot that goes into it.
You've always been into this alternative stuff like naturopathy, and then going into astrology, and then now yoga and selling health and wellness products. So, what exactly drew you specifically to yoga?
When I was a young child, my mom would do stretches, and my Aunt Remy, also her sister, taught yoga as well. So whenever I would visit her, we would do that together.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was a part of everyone's life.
Okay, I can see that.
So it wasn't like, oh, I need to get into it. I was just doing yoga anyways. And I never thought to do it as a job.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, that's something we do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But since it's so easy, why couldn't it be? So then I could figure out what else I wanted to do in life. I didn't want to work corporate anymore or be in the military anymore.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my therapist, and she's like, Jen, you always talk about yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also incorporate naturopathy into it, and you can make that your business. And why don't you become a yoga teacher? So eventually I was like, yeah, why don't I? So I signed up for school. I looked for the best local school that I could go to, that I could drive to every day. And it also incorporated circus stuff. Because initially, what really brought me into it was going to an aerial yoga class. I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Okay.
That was the thing that really sealed the deal. So I found the aerial yoga school, got certified as just a yoga teacher.
And you went to Sarasota.
Sarasota. Cirque Soul is the name of the place. The owner, Kerry Tice, I don't think he has that place anymore because he's switched over to just retreats, which is also what I wanted.
Yeah.
He's my teacher. And then his teacher's teacher is in Orlando, my Linda. And then her teacher is Nishala Joy Devley. He was one of the great yogis on the planet. I don't know if you want to look her up, but she's pretty awesome. So she's like my great grandma, my great yoga grandma.
And you have a Filipino background and you grew up here in Florida, or you grew up somewhere else and moved down to Florida, or where exactly are you from?
When my dad was in the military, he was in the Navy. He went to the Philippines. He met my mom. They had me there. And then we moved all over the place my whole entire childhood. I was never stuck in one place more than 2 years at a time. And then when I became an adult, after I graduated high school, my dad left the military and he came down here to be with his sister, my Aunt Nancy. And then I just really liked it here because it's the closest thing in the States to what it's like to live overseas, like in Guam. That was one of the places that I lived in. I have to be by the ocean. So when I started doing all my different jobs and moving around in my life as an adult, I was like, I'm going to get back to here where
Mm-hmm.
my family and friends are. So that's how I ended up here. So now I've been here for 20 years.
Okay, as long as I have. So you grew up with a father in the military, which you were very close to your father. May he rest in peace. And then, so you went in his direction and then found like, oh, my roots are more in the natural direction where I was doing all these little things as a child. So now that you're going through all these life changes and situations, coming into 2025, you mentioned that you really want to get into retreats. So can you explain that? Because we always hear so much about retreats. And I know there's a lot of people out there that have this vision, either collaborative vision of doing something with a yoga teacher or alternative medicine person, but you pretty much do it all.
Yeah.
Are you going to be the standalone businesswoman doing this, or are you going to collaborate?
A lot of people that want to collaborate with me. Luckily, other yoga teachers and things out there.
Yes. Yes.
People love that kind of stuff on their retreat.
Yes, they do.
And depending on who I can partner with for the place and what kind of amenities they have, I want to be able to facilitate all of those things, be able to have crystal bowl healing and massage therapy and maybe astrology if they're into that.
Numerology.
Naturopathy. Oh, numerology too. That is always an option. So I have all the education in all these different things. Obviously, yoga and different forms of yoga. And we can get into that eventually. That's what I want.
So,
Those retreats, but they're only going to be like on the weekend, 340.
got you. So you're going to keep their attention span, make them a little bit healthier, educate them. All the meanwhile, you're going to incorporate different facets. So for a lot of the viewers too, we hear about homeopathy and naturopathy. What's the difference? What is naturopathy?
Naturopathy is getting to the root of the issue. What is causing it in the body and eliminating it. Homeopathy is by taking some tree bark and turning it into aspirin,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little bit different and a little, I don't want to say sketchy isn't the right word. You'd have to be able to measure the elements in those herbs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There is such a thing as having too much of one thing.
Sure.
In homeopathy. In naturopathy, we try to not necessarily rely on herbs, but try to eliminate why there was an issue in the first place. And then if you want some herbs to help you along the way, then you can focus.
So almost kind of like changing your oil, right? In a car, getting rid of all the bad stuff and then incorporating the good. And then you talked about having massage therapy, which a lot of people have had a therapeutic massage, and there's a lot of benefits to that, of course. And then with yoga, now that you have expanded into this whole different world, there's a lot of different forms of yoga, which we briefly discussed. And so for a lot of people, when they come to a yoga studio, which right now you're working out of a yoga studio locally, why are there so many forms of yoga, and how do people differentiate what they need?
How do you differ? The only way to differentiate what you need is to try them. just try it. Whatever different things, even if you think, oh, if you would go to a class and you're like, I really hate this class, that's probably the class that you need the most. That's usually the case. Looking at it from a teacher's standpoint and watching a student, they probably would need that.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't, I'm sure there's quizzes online that you can take, but all you gotta do is try it all.
Hot yoga is more detox, and then aerial is more flexibility and strength. Yin, what's yin and what's vinyasa and all of that?
So vinyasa is flow,
Okay.
dancing,
Okay.
movements. Yin is taking a pose, going into it deep, as deep as you can go, and then staying there for 5 to 7 minutes. You can go even longer if you like, but in a class setting, it's usually about that long. Sometimes people do 3 to 5 minutes, which I don't think gets you far enough in your stretch.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is the longer you're in a stretch, there's fascia, these fibers that are surrounding each other,
Mm-hmm.
and they create your muscles, your ligaments.
Mm-hmm.
The longer you go into a stretch, those deeper pieces of you can stretch as well. But if you do just a short stretch, it's only going to go so far. So you go deep into the muscle or deep into the ligament, which is where a lot of people need it. When you feel like you're walking around and you feel stuck in your hip or something, you need yin yoga, or your knee, or your shoulder.
So, do you have a lot of people in pain come to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we come to my classes. I think, and all the other teachers' classes too, probably, but definitely my class. Most of the people I get either have knee replacements, hip replacements, spinal fusions, different kinds of stuff. Shoulder issues, neck issues, scoliosis.
And how would you say to new and upcoming yoga instructors, because obviously you were probably pretty nervous starting out teaching. I assume when you have generally people with a lot of chronic pain issues and you're in a group, what are your biggest suggestions on how to modify, how to keep a close eye so that no one gets hurt?
Learn how to teach with your words and not your body movements. I do both because a lot of the clients that I get are used to watching the person, but I've come far enough along to where I can see everyone in the mirror, and I usually talk to them for a second. Hey, do you have, before class starts, do you have any issues with your body right now that you want to work on or something that you need to look out for? I also remind them throughout the class, this is your practice because it's your body that you're moving. So always keep that in mind. Like, don't just do what everybody else is doing. What you're going to do is going to be different than someone else's. No one has the same kind of bones. They're all placed differently. No one has the same kind of ligaments. Maybe someone has extra ligaments or less. Anyway, that's part of being a teacher. You're going to be able to recognize that in your student. So if you think your student is doing it wrong, maybe they're just built differently, literally.
Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of times I've talked about this with several other practitioners myself, is men and women are quite different when it comes to stretching and yoga, probably predominantly more women than men. So have you seen a shift in that gradually over time? Because I know all the age groups are a little bit different, but I know men need a lot of stretching, just like women do. And
yeah.
so,
Probably say even more. We still get, I would say about a third of our clients are men, which is pretty good, at least here in America. I know overseas it's very different. It used to just be men.
mhm.
Women started taking that upon themselves to start practicing their yoga. It is for everyone, and I don't know about the switch between the two. I wish more men would come because I can see them just by the way they walk. You need yoga, sir.
Yeah. And for you, yoga has been really life-changing, has it not?
So making it be my job has been very encouraging. I never found anything prior to this where I was like, I could do this for the rest of my life every single day until the day I die. When I'm 90, I'm probably still going to be teaching yoga just because I love it so much.
And yeah, you had talked about, because I've known you for so long, you talked about finding yourself and finding your tribe, finding people that you really understood, which I think for a lot of people, finding a job that quote unquote isn't a job that you love to do every day is very hard for people because they're either thinking of job security, what's going to pay the bills, how are they going to provide long term, what is a really good career path for a retirement plan, so on and so forth. But hasn't this maybe taught you a little bit to step out of that realm of comfort and expand into something that you don't really feel comfortable in?
This probably wasn't the only thing that has felt uncomfortable. I think every single business that I tried to keep and make was always uncomfortable for me. So I took a little different path than most people. Most people like to go to school, they get their degree, and then they find their job, and they're there for a long time. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I did all the things I was interested in, everything. And now I can incorporate all of those things together any way I like to.
And society is really, have you not seen the shift? Primarily, we've seen a lot of bad things, such as processed food and a lot of other things that people neglect or take for granted with their health. But you also see a lot of people awakening to, I kind of need to be more preventative. So if you had to give tips to people on the top 10 preventions that you would say, because you look younger than you are.
I think that has a lot to do with genes.
It can.
Well, I would say number 1, use your body. Number 2, bless your food.
Bless your food.
I think if you're giving whatever you're consuming positive vibrations, that's what you're also consuming. If you feel like, oh, I just can't do this diet. If you're going to eat that bad food anyways, at least bless it. Number
It's a good way of
3,
looking at it.
you need sunshine, at least 15 minutes a day. Happiness, focusing on the feeling of joy. So what brings people joy? You can do all the things that I just named in me doing yoga and eating better and all that kind of stuff. But you got to get to that feeling of joy. I think that also helps get rid of wrinkles, or the only wrinkles that you would have would be like the
I agree.
those people also live the longest. The happier you are, the longer you have to live.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anything else. I'm sure there's buckets of things I could say. But those are the top 4, I would say.
If you had to extend that into your retreats, and so you're talking about 3-4 day retreats coming up by the water, in the sunshine, good food, teaching people how to detox. Maybe they're a little obese and maybe in a lot of chronic pain. So you're trying to get them more flexible, more mobile.
The goal of the retreat is to help people de-stress and to feel good. Period. Not get messed up like some people do when they go on vacation. We're like, oh man, so many drinks and party with my friends or whatever people do. I want people to come to this and be like, all right, how do I de-stress? A lot of people don't tap into their abilities to do that kind of thing, how to breathe. You can feel like you're walking on clouds just by breathing a specific way. So that's something I can also teach in those retreats. The list is long.
Breathing is really important. As we know, we need to breathe, but there's a difference between diaphragmatic breathing and secondary breathing, wouldn't you say? I think most of society does a lot of the secondary breathing because you're constantly seeing people who are stressed out and their shoulders are up to their ears. They're glued,
It happens to
right?
me all the time. Like I'm a I have a high anxiety type personality, but since I've incorporated a lot of those things, I'm a lot more easygoing. I do feel more joy on my day-to-day basis. I can sleep better. Um,
That's a good tip. Sleep.
yeah, that's another thing. I guess that's another really important thing. Sleep when you feel like sleeping.
And you said a really good point, which is learning how to de-stress, because a lot of people, they think the de-stressing, you just pointed that out, is going to the bar after work or
Thing wrong with having a drink. But if that's something you really want to
and that's
stress, it's
yes.
going to cause more cortisol in your body to go up, period. Because alcohol is sugar and sugar is cortisol, etc., etc.
Mhm.
Teach that as well.
A healthier version, a more balanced version.
Maybe you just need to walk in the sun for 15 minutes before sunset.
I think stress is a really high point in society today. Stress, we talk about processed food, we talk about not getting enough sleep, we talk about not moving, not exercising, all this stuff. But stress at the bottom of the barrel is actually killing more people today because they either don't have adequate balance time with their families, they don't have that emotional stability with their partner, spouse. They have no communication. They're not enveloping themselves in friendships and in bonds. So, what's your take on that? Because I
Always something.
we were the product of the 80s. So, for a lot of people that are growing up in this generation, you've got two kids. I've got one, you've got two. You've probably seen it too, right? Just being on your phone or not.
Yeah. That is also a somewhat addiction of mine too. When I'm by myself,
Really? It's an addiction?
end up on my phone. And I just noticed this the other day because I was in the middle of cooking in the kitchen and then I had my phone with me while I was cooking. I was like, where are your
Yeah, you're not even enjoying. You're saying, bless this food, but you're not even enjoying
phones
cooking.
before? No. Same thing with my water, anything that goes in my body. I'm like, the highest vibration that this can possibly be from my heart to this piece and back into me. I don't know. That's just what I see in my brain. I know it sounds silly, but I think you're worth.
I think it does too, because I think a lot of times when people look at food, they're not even paying attention to what they're putting in their body. Literally, we live in a convenience society where everything is just pick up and go, pick up and go. Adrenal fatigue, I talked about in a show a while back. And I know a couple years ago, you were there. You were like, oh my gosh, I'm so
Well,
tired.
Okay, so my best friend passed away. She was only 30. And then my home situation was getting weird.
I remember. I remember.
My stress level was bonkers. And I wasn't doing yoga at that time. I was just teaching naturopathy, which is the funny thing, because it's not what you put into your body that makes you better. There's a lot of other things. The whole stress factor is a big deal. All these little things in your life. Are your kids doing good in school? Are the bills getting paid? Is my car working?
Yeah.
And it doesn't help when like big events happen, like when someone close to you passes away.
Yeah.
You like
Agreed.
or house or different thing for different, and everyone goes through.
And we're in the perfect community right now, enveloped by a lot of stress because obviously this part of Florida has went through multiple hurricanes.
Helene and Milton within a 2-month time span, and each one was devastating
Yeah. For
on many levels.
and then Ian 2 years before. Why?
Was the absolute worst. I know some people were like, oh, it was only 6 hours. I was like, no, man, it felt like 12 hours of being. It felt
It was.
trained for a really long time, running over the house.
And we're in the perfect fields for dealing with all these people because obviously we're both in the health and wellness fields. Have you seen like where you've had clients come up to you? Because I know for a lot of people too, they study these things, whether it be massage therapy or naturopathy or yoga or anything, and they don't quite understand too. Another part of the quote unquote job is actually building a trust and a bond with the people that you work with.
Mm.
So have you seen where that has like really been a big thing for you?
Yes. Most of my students have been with me since the beginning.
Mhm.
And they all really like routine. So you give them a little bit of routine and you're like part of their week or day, however often that you see them. And we get to share with each other different parts of our lives. All of us going through the hurricane stuff, that was really big. Luckily, the studio was able to open immediately.
Mhm.
Fine. But the surrounding areas, like a block of
Yeah,
totally demolished.
it's crazy.
Why? And people are just grateful to be able to have that to come to. I think they're grateful to have someone like me that can get them to that place in their own mind and their own body. I know I appreciate it when I go to someone like you or a
Aw, that's so
teacher.
sweet.
I'm like,
She's sweet.
in my life so that I can feel normal.
Yeah, that's because what really is the norm now? The norm is so scattered anymore. You turn on the TV and it's negative. That's why I always tell people try and stay as positive up here as you can because that affects, you'd probably agree, everything you do every single day.
It's like you're blessing your thoughts.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And I got to bring this up because I know I am one, okay, because I really do wonder this. And I'm going to ask you this. Look on social media and all kinds of stuff, and they have yoga with like animals, yoga with goats, and yoga with this. And I got,
Probably not about you just physically, but going into an environment where you're playing with goats. Like, so that's what it.
that is a really cool thing. I always thought, I thought I've never had a goat stand on my back before. But baby goats are so cute and it can't be that hard, right?
Goats are really silly and obnoxious.
Playful.
I love them.
Yes. Now, would you, because I brought this up for a reason, because they're having like yoga, they have dog yoga, they've got llama yoga, they've got so many yoga things. Oh, wouldn't that be cool? I know. I saw a recent thing for llama yoga. It was weird but cool at the same time because I love animals. Would I know, I gotta send it to you. It's so funny. But would you ever do, I mean, I could see you as a person because I've known you for so long. I could see you totally doing like, hey, Inglewood, I'm doing some goat yoga. Would you ever do that?
Yeah.
I think that's so funny. I think it's cute too.
I have thought about this. I don't really know anyone local anymore that has goats, so I'm sure it's not hard to find because we got farm acres there. Everybody got goats. If they got chickens, they probably got goats.
I would think so.
I was thinking about talking to, I don't know who runs that area on Dearborn or the stages.
Oh,
It's
yes.
the chamber things.
Could be.
And I know that they
Ask Kim. Kim would know.
they had mentioned something about doing like a free donation only kind of yoga on Sunday mornings and things like that. And I was like, no, that's too lame because they have that everywhere. They have it at the beach, they have it at Park, Sarasota, Venice, blah blah blah. And it has to be different. The goat yoga thing.
I think that's so cute. And this, I think I would totally do it. And this is why I would do it. And this is why I believe in it. Oh, I would. I would totally do it. I would get people to do it with me too, because animals, they do. At the end of my day, no matter what's happened with my day, I go home and my Shih Tzu, Moses, he's got the one tooth. He is cute. But he just relaxes me. And I love the fact that I don't have to deal with all kinds of stressful people or situations sometimes. I think that humans or people, especially people that never really grew up with having a dog or a cat or having that emotional connection and balance with animals, I think that's really super important. It would bring down people's blood pressure, get them.
There is science on it. It's all out there. Like the cat's purr,
Vitamin D.
cortisol. I saw a study on that. Yeah, phytochemicals. That's what I was saying. Go for a walk on the site. Bring your animal.
Well, if it can, so this is so funny. Besides cortisol, I read this. I mean, I don't have a cat, I have a dog, but if you're injured, and cats or animals usually gravitate to a human when they're sick or they don't feel well, or they have injuries. If they lay on that affected part of your body, they actually make your body produce more vitamin D, which is actually really from the purring vibration, right? The purring vibration.
I know this is a little off subject, but do you know Edgar Casey?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
he said in the future, medicine is going to be through sound.
Yes. Yes.
Now, there's another study that I just read about recently where they were using sound healing or waves, sin waves or whatever you want to call them, against cancer cells.
Mhm.
It helped to either let them do their apoptosis and pass away, or it would revert to just fine.
Mhm.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I'm like, why aren't we doing more of that? So that was why that's why I do the crystal bowl healing. I do it in my own house all the time.
Yeah, just real quick here too, in massage therapy, there is a retreat in the Bahamas. They use dolphins for cancer patients and to break up tumors. Their sonar. Isn't that cool? That's very cool. But talking about sound and sound bowls, a lot of people don't understand the effectiveness of the the sound bowls. Why should people?
High vibrations and low vibration.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with sound. They have a certain vibration per hertz. And each vibration will hit different parts of the body. The bowl set that I have is a chakra crystal bowl set. So you have your root, which is like your hips and your sex organs and that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
to the necks and so on, all the way up to or
Crown.
There was a sound bowl healing concert that I went to recently. I think it was Robert that was playing, and I had a pulsating migraine. That's part of perimenopause stuff you gotta do.
Yay.
I went to the thing. I was like, oh, it's just not going away. This isn't getting any better. And everyone's playing their bowls together because we were doing that together. And then each one of us, one at a time, would go in the center of the bowls, just lay there and let the others play the thing. Immediately after my session was done, gone. It was like it lifted. It felt like my shoulders were eased up. My whole head was just open and clear, and it felt slightly cooler on top of it. Pretty interesting stuff. But it happened in a moment.
Yeah, it's really funny because a lot of people, they don't interconnect. You see a lot of people neglect their bodies physically, but we don't talk about the energy fields as much as we should. And really, I think you would agree, especially with everything you've been through in life, experienced and learned, that energy fields are real. And if I'm sitting here with you and I have a very negative energy
I'm
field.
gonna feel it, and I'm gonna be like, see you, bye.
Yes, exactly. So I think people need to understand that the world is also getting sick because we have a lot of negativity. And that actually, it's proven in science, which is a funny thing because they always say you can't prove energy. But now
Be sick.
it's proving that it changes your cells.
It does.
Yeah.
Your DNA. So, I was looking at this one picture. I gotta send it to you. It shows different people's DNA and what it looks like under the scope if you're looking at it flat. If you were to cut the strand and then look at the top of the
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
and what it looks like is, how there's when you have a bowl of water and you play a certain music and it makes different
Yes.
in the water.
Yeah.
That's what the DNA looks like. Yeah. It's like a liquid for which it
Oh, yeah.
can be influenced by sound.
Yes.
Not just sound, but vibrations, period. That's really what we should say because light can be a vibration. Everything is a vibration. Technically, this table is vibrating
Vibration.
really hard.
The other thing is, I know I have my phone on me right now, and this is a 5G phone, but this has been proven too. And this is, I try to keep it away from my body, but that's even proven to affect the body as well.
Things I am not sure what electromagnetic field.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably what it stands for. There are these little EMF stickers you can stick on your phone. It
Mhm.
helps with that. I have one on mine.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a lot of fun talking to you today. If people want to learn more from you, keep updated on your retreats, what's going to be coming for 2025, maybe even take a few classes, which I definitely encourage you all to try and find her and follow her. She's a great yoga instructor. How are they supposed to find you?
Just follow me on Facebook right now.
Facebook by Jen Hill. Jen Hill. Okay. And you're eventually going to be having a website and all that for your retreats. So when I bring you back, then you can tell us updates on where you're actually doing everything because that would be great. And I appreciate all the education because I think a lot of people need to realize how important what everything you do and how that all works together.
Yeah, they all do go hand in hand. Or at least in my eyes.
I think we got to balance the mind, body, spirit. All right. Thank you for having me interview you. And I know. And thank you very much. And we'll have you back.